So now let's learn how we're going to attach our sensors and our electronics to the system. We're going to first start with our Grove Shield. And again, the Grove Shield is what's going to allow our microbit to power everything. And as a reminder, our Grove Shield looks like this. Okay? And our microbit gets plugged into the shield. You're going to also need a Grove Shield holder, and you're going to need a clip. Okay? So what the clips do are they just screw right into the back of the holder, and that's how all of the sensors are going to get attached, and then the clip just simply attaches to the system. Okay? So I find it a little bit easier to get the shield into our clip first, and kind of what you have to do is slide it in at a little bit of an angle and push it over, and it slides right on in. Alright? So now it's nicely attached, and it shouldn't fall out. Oops. Even if you drop it, whether it's right side up, upside down, it's pretty good. Okay, and then what you'll do is grab a clip, just screw it right in the back. Okay, and you can get it reasonably tight, and then again you can rotate this based upon the orientation that you want. Okay, and so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to slide my clip right on about there. Okay. I'm gonna make this where it's a little less tight. Okay. And so now I got a little bit of give so I can move my shield around as needed. Okay. So now let's attach our humidity and air temperature sensor. And remember, that's the little white sensor. Okay. And the best wire that we're going to use for that one is I would use a long wire. And so you have a couple of these in your kit, because you're probably going to want to place your temperature sensor at various points in your system. And it also comes with a holder. It's got a bottom piece and a top piece, and it's red. It should be the only red piece that you have. And how this works is you're just going to slide your sensor in, make sure that you align up the sensor with the holder, and it should snap right on in place. Okay, and then the top should pop right on, and what the top is designed to do is just make sure that if you say put the sensor on upside down, the sensor doesn't accidentally fall out. And then we can attach our wire right into our temperature sensor, and what we're going to do now is attach another clip to the back of our temperature sensor. Okay, just tighten it into the, screw it into the little back of the hex nut. And then you can decide, where do I want to put it. So I'm going to say I'm going to want my temperature sensor down here toward the bottom of where my plants are going to be growing to start. So again, I just put it on, and our temperature sensor is going to get plugged into port P0. You just pop it right up there into our Grove Shield. Okay. Alright. So now let's attach our screen so we can get some data. Your screen holder is yellow, and your little screen looks like this little piece of almost like a little tiny monitor. Okay, just be careful with the front. It's glass and it is a little fragile, and what you have to do here is slide it in kind of from an angle from above, such that the slides underneath that top lip to hold it in place. Okay, and then grab another wire. This one is fine on using a short one, and what you're going to do is you can plug that wire right into our screen. Okay. And it's easiest to have the screen in the holder first before you plug it in. Okay, just like we did with the temperature sensor. Same thing, grab another one of your little clips, tighten her up, and let's decide on where we want to put it. I'm going to have this one setting above here. Okay. So this is why I've got my little Grove Shield here a little loose, so I can rotate it around to make sure that I have some easy access. There we go. Okay. So the screen gets plugged into I2C. Okay. So when you're looking at your Grove Shield, it's the furthest pin on the right. Okay. Now, next one that we are going to plug in is going to be our relay. Now the relay is going to control airflow. It's going to control a fan. Okay? And the relay looks like this. It comes pre-wired for you. It's got little alligator clips on it. Okay. And it's got a little female pigtail plug on it. That's where we're going to plug it in for power. Okay. And it also comes with a holder. Okay. So the relay holder, it also kind of slides in, and it's got a little lip there to hold it as well, so you kind of just push it in, and it's got a little space there for the wires to come out. Okay. Now the relay holder is a little more loose, just because it was harder to design one that allowed us to get it really tight. Okay, but that's totally fine. It stays fine. And same thing, you get another black clip. Okay. And now we're going to plug this in somewhere on where we want to connect our relay. So I'm actually going to put it underneath our shield. Okay. Now we need to connect up our fan, and the fan is the most complicated one in terms of 3D parts. Okay. So our fan comes pre-wired, right? It's got a long wire attached to it. It's got a male pigtail plug attached to it. Okay. And there's a first step that you have to do with the fan. Is it has a fan holder, right? It kind of looks like, I guess, a stool or something or other like that. And what you're going to do is you're going to slide in the fan into the 3D part and give it a push from the front. Notice my wire. I'm going to make sure that your wire doesn't get pinched, so you can have your wire right out front. Okay, and give it a push, and it should snap into place. You might have to push it pretty hard. Is that these are designed to be tight because we don't want our fan to fall out when we're holding it at different angles. Okay, so you might have to give it a pretty good push. But again, make sure that you can see your wire coming out of the front, and then you've got the back, right? So nothing should be coming out of the back there. So now I've got my fan attached. Now the fan comes with a little bit of an extender because we're going to want it up or out away from our rest of our electronics because it will blow air on the plants. So you should have a little blue long kind of cylinder piece and a little elbow piece. Now we've already connected some of these together, but if yours is not connected, you just take the elbow piece and you screw it in. These are tight, and so you might have to screw it and, you know, loosen it, tighten it until you can get it nice and tight, because we don't want our fan to be moving around. Okay, same thing. Now we can screw that whole thing onto our clip. So it's going to look something like this. Then I can put my fan onto this whole extension, and it's actually a little easier to just attach the extension to the fan and holding the fan. Otherwise you get this wire twisted around things, so then you can just kind of spin this around. And it doesn't have to go all the way in, just as long as it's kind of tight and you move it around and your fan doesn't move. Okay, so now I've got my fan built. Okay, and what we're going to do is on the relay, right where it's got the female connector, right, is we're going to plug in our fan connector. It just plugs right in, just like you're plugging in any other device. Okay, then you can decide on where you want to have your fan plugged in at. I'm going to have my fan on the other side, and I'm going to have it facing downward. Right, so my air is going to flow over my plants. Okay. Now, to get power to our fan, we're going to have to program it to turn on, but we have to connect these alligator clips to our shield. Okay, so on the shield you'll see there's a GND and a 3V3. The 3V3 is 3.3 volts. That's our positive side. The ground is the negative side. And so you attach the, whoops, I did those backwards. You attach the red to the 3 volts, black to ground. Actually, it would have worked the other way. Alright, so I've got my red attached to 3.3 volts, my black to ground. That's going to basically treat the shield as a battery, and when I tell my relay to come on, it's going to allow current to flow, which is going to power my fan. Okay. Now, the last little thing that we're going to attach is going to be the relay to the shield. So again, you should have another little cable, just like before. We're going to plug in our relay with the cable, and the relay is going to get plugged into port P1. Okay. Alright, so now I've got 3 of my ports used. Last port up is our LED strip. Okay, and we're going to use this as kind of a visual indicator. You know, is it too hot? Is it too cold? You know, is it too humid? Things like that. And it doesn't need a holder, and it's just going to plug in into the last port. Okay. And what you can do with our LED light is we can actually wrap it up and around our system as needed, right? Just to have it off the floor, or if you really want it to, these things are flexible, right? You can wrap it around the system, you know, however you want to do it. But it's probably useful to decide how you want to do it, because what you will want to do is you'll probably will want to use a zip tie to hold it in place, or a twisty tie so you can undo it. Okay? And so I've used zip ties and twisty ties. If you think that you're happy with it, you can zip tie it. The only challenge there is that then you'll have to cut it when you want to move your LED strip to maybe some other location with the zip tie. But that's totally fine. Okay. Alright. And so this is how our system is nicely wired up. I am now going to zoom in so we can get a closer look at the system. Okay. So I've got my Grove shield. All right, all 4 ports are used. The I2C port is going to my screen. The P0 port is going to my temperature sensor. The P1 port is going to my relay, and my LED strip is plugged into P4. Okay? So now this is kind of the front of my system. Okay? And again, you could decide where you want to put stuff. You could have all of this stuff on the side, right? You could have it across the top. It's probably hard to put it on the bottom, but you could. Your fan can go almost anywhere in the system, right? I know sometimes we put the fans down here on the bottom when our plants are little, just because the plants aren't very tall, right? And so then you could have your fan down here toward the bottom, right? Or you can move your fan to where it's at the top, you know, as your plants get bigger, and you just want to make sure that your plants have some airflow. The other thing to remember is that with my front this is where I have my on and off switches for my lights. Okay? So if I want all my lights on, I just hit both buttons. If I only want 1 or 2 lights on, I hit one of the buttons. Okay? Depends on where your plants, how much light that you want to give your plants. Okay? Then the last thing that you will have to do is once you program your microbit, right? Then you download your program to this. We can just slide it right in to our Grove shield. Then the only challenge that you do have is making sure that you have a cable that will be long enough to reach the Grove shield to the power supply. Okay? So when you look at your cable, right, you go, oh no, maybe it's too short. And if it's too short, all that you really have to do is just take these clips. That's what they're designed to do. And you can easily and quickly move things around. The only thing to remember, just unplug your fan. And then you can say, hey, you know, I am going to reattach my clips to this side. So if you don't like where your clips are initially, right, it's designed such that you can move them around pretty quickly. Alright, and now I've got it moved to the other side. And then all I have to do is connect my Grove shield to the USB port on my power supply.